Recipes for technical trading success in Cook's Kitchen.
One of my favorite times of the year, no, not earnings season, 13F season. That's right, when we get the quarterly filings, the SEC 13Fs where hedge funds, institutions, any asset manager with over 100 million in assets must report their holdings at the end of the quarter. They don't have to detail what they bought or sold. They just have to say, this is how many shares we own of X, and then everybody else has to do the math. If you have an algorithm for that or an API, it's easy. So go to my screen here and I'll show you a really easy one. This is NASDAQ.com. This is the new NASDAQ.com, which has some cool stuff. It's all interactive and great, but it doesn't have the market data the way that I used to have gotten used to using it for years. So if you want to see what I'm doing here, you have to go click here to find the old NASDAQ.com. So that's what we're going to do. And the first stock we're going to look at 5 stocks today. We're going to look at Tesla first, just for fun. See who was buying and who was selling in Q4. But if you want to do this again in the future send me your stocks. Leave a comment. If you're on YouTube, leave a comment and fire some stocks at me that you want to see this done for. And I'll get to it in the next week. Today is Wednesday the 19th. And also, if you go to Zacks.com/promo, you can get access to a lot more of our information and see our latest offerings, and be sure to follow me. Okay, so go to my screen here. I'm on the old NASDAQ.com. Type in Tesla. Let it load. And then you want to scroll down because you want to be over here in the left-hand menu, all the way at the bottom, Institutional Holdings. Let that load. All right. So you get these snapshot graphical views of things to give you sort of net buying, net selling. The figures are not always going to be that accurate. What's more reliable is going to be what did an individual fund do. So you always get the top 15 holders sorted by shares held. This is what I like to see here. Look at this. Bailey Gifford. This is the biggest hedge fund you've never heard of. Bailey Gifford, managing well over $250 billion, located in Edinburgh, Scotland. And they've been around since 1908, still privately held, owned by 44 partners. And they're doing some amazing things in investment. Obviously, they love Tesla. They added to their Tesla position. Let's go back here and take a look. So as of 12/31, make sure you look at the date so you know that this is as of that quarter. So that, by the end of Q4, they had bought an additional 375,000 shares, less than a 3% add for them because they're the largest holder with 13.8. Capital World is here, and you should always look at Capital World and Capital Research together because those are two wings of the big hedge fund out on the West Coast, big asset manager, Capital Group, managing over $500 billion. I don't see Capital Research on here, so this might be their full position. Obviously, they're big holders. They were adding. Smart bunch. Vanguard and BlackRock, of course, they have to add. Fidelity's sold barely anything. Renaissance Technology, Jim Simons, the mathematician who cracked the code of Wall Street. I think I talked about the new book about him last time. I forget the name of it, but something like the man who cracked Wall Street or something. But great videos on YouTube with lectures and presentations by Jim Simons. He was a math professor, created Renaissance Technologies, basically invented the phenom of algo trading because that's what he and his math friends like to do. So what else did I want to point out here? Talked about those big holders. I was going to say something about Tesla, but I forgot. We'll come back to it. Let's look at Alumina. Alumina Institutional Holdings. I've already set this page up. So, hey, look who's at the top again for Alumina. Bailey Gifford. The Scots. Trouncing Vanguard and BlackRock with their 17.7 million shares. They were buyers. Nice to see. And there's Capital Research, the other wing of Capital Group, along with Capital World. They're also big holders. Now, some people, when they look at the 13Fs, they're like, well, this information is at least 45 days old, because the deadline from the SEC is that hedge funds and institutions have to report within 45 days after the end of the quarter. But they could have been buying any time in that quarter. So this data could be 100 days old. It could be 150 days old. And I get that this is not trading data. This is more like investing data. And what you're looking for is who's still buying, right? Where's their conviction? Did they get shaken out? That's what I was going to say. You know who got shaken out of Tesla in Q4? The Saudis. The Sovereign Wealth Fund sold over 8 million shares, which was like 99.5% of their position. So it's nice to see that Bailey Gifford, who is a long-term asset manager for their clients, was still buying Tesla and buying Alumina. Alumina is the juggernaut of genomic sequencing. So that's good stuff. All right, let's go to the little guy on the street in genomic sequencing, and that's NVTA. They report tonight, Wednesday. You're probably watching this video no sooner than Thursday. And so their report will have been out. We've been long the stock since the high teens. It's up to 27 now. We got a nice gain there. We're going to ride it just because I like so much what this company is doing. So notice ARK Investment Management. They are the biggest holders with 10.5 million shares, and they added 2.6 million in Q4. You got some Japanese firms and the Baker brothers, big biotech advisors. I've talked about Bakers for years because I've followed the Baker brothers for years in biotech. Let's talk about ARK. If you don't know who they are, just pull up one of their stock symbols, ARK or ARKG. ARK, their theme is disruptive innovation. So ARK is their innovation fund. It holds Tesla. They actually had to sell some Tesla, but only because the position got so large. Even in Q4, the position, once the stock broke above 400, it was getting beyond their parameters of, say, their upper threshold, say 10% of the fund. And ARKG is their genomics fund where they hold Alumina, NVTA, and the CRISPR stocks, the bleeding edge of science here with genetics. So great to see that. Let's go to Square. Square, I was telling my people we got to be buyers here around 60. This thing's going to bottom near 60. Finally did. We got in, and glad we did, because now Square's off to the races here at $85. I mean, once you got above that, what was looking to set up to be a triple top at 82, 83, the stock easily goes to 90, if not 100, and new highs. So, who was buying Square? By the way, you can sort these, like this defaults to largest holders, right? Shares held, but you can sort it by buyers. So if I go change shares, now I'm looking at, who bought the most. It's sorted that way. Make sure you're looking at 1231 if you want Q4. Occasionally, like I'll tell you, for Capital World and Capital Group, they still had, as of yesterday, they still had the Q3 data here. So it said 9/30/19, finally updated. I don't know if they were late with their 13F or it's just so enormous. But anyway, Capital World, oh my gosh, they bought 8 million shares. I mean, this is this is enormous. And then the other guy I like to see is Lone Pine Capital. That's Steve Mandel. He holds 8.8 million now and added almost 800,000. Love that guy. You want to talk about, everybody's concerned about the indexes are getting run, we're making all these new highs because of passive investing and factor investing, but there's still stock pickers out there like Steve Mandel, like the guys at Bailey Gifford, like Andreas Halverson of Viking Global. So let's look back at Square again here. Yeah, I really like to see this. Vanguard and Fidelity and State Street, they're not in the top buyers. It's it's these investors thinking out with a long-term view. So great to see there. Okay, last stock of the 5 we're going to look at today, the Trade Desk. Who was buying the trade desk in Q4? The trade desk, you know what I call the trade desk now? I love this company. This is, they've turned advertising into real-time auctions and followed like an algo model, like the markets. I call the trade desk the CME of advertising, because that's essentially what they've done. They become an exchange to rapidly trade advertising real estate on the web, OTT, over the top, on streaming TV, and they're just killing it. We sold for 50% gains recently and having trouble getting back in as it gets away here. So, again, this is defaulted to largest holders, Vanguard, Morgan. Bailey's up there. Wow, this Bailey Gifford is just clobbering the market lately with these big wins. They added small, 2.7 million shares now. Let's see who the big ads were. You can always look at sellers too. I mean, I can click change shares, and I'll do that in a second and show you who was selling. So Lord and Abbott were buyers. That's a new position for Lord Abbott, over 250,000 shares. ARK is in here in the trade desk. I did not know that. Kathy Wood. Remember, Kathy Wood is the CEO of ARK Invest. She's the crazy one with the $7,000 price target on Tesla, but that's a 5-year price target, and she's got a whole model thesis for it. And she's no fly-by-night marketer. This lady, she was a junior economist for Capital Group in California. Then she worked for Jennison. She was a senior economist at Jennison. And then, she took her macro skills and she really wanted to analyze companies and industries and trends, and that's what she's done. So it's great to see them in the trade desk also. If I click on change shares, you can see who the sellers were. JP Morgan Chase had to sell a bunch. Not much else. I mean, it looks like net accumulation here for the trade desk with that big buy by Morgan Stanley. All right, so this has been my my foray into the 13 Fs for Q4. We just looked at 5 stocks. Leave comments with other stocks you'd like to see or other information you have about buyers and sellers and what excites you, what concerns you, and let me know what you think. All right, talk to you next time in the kitchen.